So it is no secret that Instagram and digital marketing in general, when it comes to growing your cash-based practice, is becoming more and more of a necessity every single day, especially if you are a solo clinician or you have a small team and you can't afford to outsource for all of these giant marketing agencies, and you're responsible for generating your own leads. You need to have the most efficient system possible to help you generate leads and new clients on a daily basis for your small business. And so in this video, I really wanted to tackle the question of, are you utilizing Instagram to its fullest extent? Even if you're not running ads, are you doing everything that you can to use Instagram for what it's meant to be, which is a social media platform? And that means having conversations and engaging with other people. So, this video is not Instagram 101 by any means, but we're going to dive into one of the things that most practice owners are really missing when it comes to fully utilizing Instagram, and how to get started and use Instagram to find your next clients. So if you're new here, my name is Morgan. I am a physical therapist and a cash-based practice owner myself. I work with clients both online and in my garage gym, mainly CrossFitters, and some pelvic health as well. And I've gotten into nutrition coaching too. But since 2020, I have actually gotten into business coaching for other clinicians just like you and me, who are wanting to start and grow our own solo cash-based practices so that we can do physical therapy and, whichever industry that you're in, we can do healthcare our way. And to me, this means being able to treat patients the way that I want to treat them and the way that they deserve to be treated, and working in a way that it doesn't compromise my own sanity. So here on the channel with me and at DPT to CEO, which is our business coaching program for practice owners, we help you grow your own business to find clinical, financial, and time freedom that you've been looking for, and just overall joy and happiness in what it is that you're doing in your life. So if you are a clinician who is either just getting started with your own practice, or you've gotten started and you just feel like you can't find clients and you're having a really hard time growing, we are the people to help you. You can find information down in the description below about the DPT to CEO program, where we can help you with figuring out what's going on with your practice, what you need, and how to reach your goals. And we do work with other clinicians besides PTs. It just started with a PT. So anyway, okay, let's dive into this topic, because this is so crucial. If you are using Instagram, honestly, Facebook, I imagine even with TikTok, I'm not a TikTok expert, but any kind of social media platform in your digital marketing, you need to be doing this one thing. I'll talk about Instagram specifically, and those will be the examples that I give, but this can apply to any kind of online social platform. So talking about Instagram, if you are new to Instagram, the first thing that you probably run into is how do I post on Instagram? What is a post? What is a carousel? What is a reel? And then you get into stories, and then eventually you might get to your broadcast channel. And it's a lot about creating content, right? That's what a lot of us struggle with, is creating content, but that's not the only piece on Instagram. The other aspect is actually having conversations and engaging with your followers and other users on the platform, because conversations are going to be what turns the prospects and the people that you're talking to into clients. If you never have conversations, you will not get clients. And so that's what we really need to talk about here today. So let's imagine you are, getting more comfortable with posting to Instagram, posting to your stories, and all of a sudden somebody responds to your stories, or you got a new message and somebody is just oh man, I wish I could do XYZ activity, but my hip just really bothers me. Instead of, these are the two options that tend to happen, is either the practice owner, the person receiving the message, will either not respond, or be I'm so sorry to hear that. Or what is more likely to happen is we immediately get into evaluation mode. And so you might say like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear about your hip. Like, tell me what's going on. Does it hurt when you do this? Does it hurt when you do that? Have you tried this? Have you tried that? Like, what movements can you do? Have you tried doing these exercises? Here's like a whole written exercise routine. Try this out and get back to me. That is, if you've done that before, raise your hand, leave a comment down below. There's no shaming here because I have definitely done that on more than one occasion. And this video is really meant to give you an alternate option to help you have more productive conversations with your prospects, with your potential clients, and actually help them in the long run. Because we think if you like come at it and go full like evaluation mode, full clinical mode, and offer like a whole exercise routine like right in the DMs, you're being helpful, you're being nice, you're not being salesy, and then people will like you better and then you'll get clients. And that's just not the way that it works. Like I said, if that sounds familiar, please let me know, because probably like my entire first year, like even trying any of this, that's what I did a lot of the time. And it was just not super helpful. So when it comes to using direct messages, and that's really like the crux of all of this, is we have content on Instagram and then there's direct messaging on Instagram. And we can do a whole series on direct messaging. So leave me a comment down below if that's something that you'd be interested in, like how to use DMs on Instagram to find clients for your practice. We want to get into the right mindset when it comes to direct messaging. And I would love for you to think about it as like an opportunity to really like filter, I suppose, like the people who are coming through in your audience, and filter in a way to figure out like if you're even the right person to help them. Because we want to come at this from a place of wanting to serve our audience, and help them get to the next step, even if it's not with you or me. We want to help them figure out what is going to be the most appropriate next step forward. So your DMs need to be about figuring out the next best step, not about closing the deal. When you show up as just like a normal person, like who is genuinely curious and genuinely trying to help and gather as much information as you can, people are going to trust you, which, we know we're all trustworthy and everything. But when you really try to like push sales too much, people feel that. Like people feel like the icky and awkward. But when you come at it from a place of like just genuinely tell me what's going on, I'll see if I can help. And if I can't, like I'll help you figure out the next person to go to, that energy is going to translate even through DMs and online. So that's like the mindset that we need to be in. So we are going to talk about 4 key components here. So 1, how to start conversations. 2, screening for a fit. 3, how to book calls, which is typically for us is like discovery calls, consultation calls, like whatever you want to call your initial conversation with somebody before they book an evaluation or paid sessions. And then 4, how to handle any like friction or hesitations that come up. So 4 steps, buckle up, and let's get into it. So number 1, so we're in the right mindset, right? Like we know we're coming from a place of service when it comes to our direct messages, and we know that we need to have genuine and curious conversations with the people in our DM, because we want to see like if they're a good fit for us, if we're a good fit for them, and what they really need help with. So starting a conversation, if somebody responds to your stories, they engage in your comments, they send you a direct message, it is up to you to keep the conversation flowing and keep it flowing in a way that is engaging and it makes the other person feel heard. They obviously are reaching out to you for something. Otherwise, they would have just not left a comment, left a message, whatever. So they're indicating to you that they want some guidance, but they also want to make sure that they're comfortable talking to you. So let's use the example that I mentioned earlier. So say you post on your stories about like some kind of like hip mobility series to help with squatting better. Somebody might respond to your story and say like, oh man, like I wish my hips were mobile, haha. And instead of, just like liking their reply or just being like, haha, same, and like kind of like shutting down the conversation right then and there, you have an opportunity to ask a question. So for example, something that you could say in response, even if you do want to say like, haha, me too, like stiffest hips in the West, I don't know. You could say whatever, connect with them, build rapport, and continue with a conversation that's you being curious. So, like, how long have your hips been like that? Like, it must be really tough getting around if your hips are always bothering you. How long has it been a thing? So ask a question. And with that, as you're asking questions, try to keep it to one question at a time, like per, I guess, like exchange. So every time that you send a message back to them, it shouldn't be like riddled with like 4 or 5 questions, because then it becomes like an interrogation and it's not really a conversation anymore. So one question at a time, I think, is a really good cadence to keep up with. You want to acknowledge their answer, reflect on it, empathize, and ask the next question. And you can sprinkle in personal touches, like I said, to create connection, to show like some parts of you that are relatable, and let them know that like you're a real person and not just a bot either. But that's what we want the initial part of the conversation to be. And like a quick tiny like framework to use that sometimes I'll use as well is even something as simple as like what's currently going on, what is their like desired situation, what goals do they have, what problems do they feel like they're facing, and do they want help? Those are like the 4 major things that I really try to get answered in the DMs before we get into the next part. And so that is really part of second piece here of our overall framework, is screening for a fit. So your job in the DMs, in order to best serve this person, is to screen them to see if you can help them or you can send them to somebody who can. And so we want to ask those things. We can also ask questions such as like, how is this affecting your day-to-day life? Try to dig into, is it really even a problem for them, or is it not a big priority? What do you wish was different? How soon are you wanting to address this? Like, is this something that you would love a solution for, like in the next like couple of weeks? Or is this just something like, yeah, maybe like I'll get to it in the next couple of years? Try to get a gauge on, when they really want to address the problem. And lastly, like I mentioned, is you really want to establish whether they want help. Sometimes people just want to complain. Sometimes they're in a place where they know they have a problem, but they just aren't really ready to address it yet. And that's fine. It's all par for the course. It happens. We're all human. And so we want to figure out if they're in a place where it would make sense to offer some help. And then the third piece here is getting to booking the call. So we want to start conversations, screen for a fit, and then like ultimately our goal is, if they are a good fit, the next piece, typically for most practices, and this is what we suggest through the practice owners that we work with in our program. So you might have a different process, but this is the way that we do things. From the DMs, like your goal is to offer an opportunity for a discovery call or a free consultation. And these are typically like 15 to 20 minutes. They're phone calls, or like I personally prefer video calls because I think you can get a lot from like body language as well. And it makes me more comfortable like to see the person that I'm talking to. But 15-20 minutes, free call, and it's just another conversation. You've gathered enough information in the DMs to establish that there is a problem that they want to address relatively soon, and they are looking for help. And now we can go into the consultation and really dive into, how is this affecting their day-to-day life, their training, their family, their job, the way that they feel about themselves? What have they done before? It's a ton of questions. And we have other videos on this channel about sales and just like having sales conversations. So I definitely recommend checking out our sales playlist as well. That'll give you some more information on having those conversations. But that's pretty much like what the next piece is going to be. So we're back in the DMs, right? Like we've screened them to be a fit, and now we need to figure out if we can offer them a call. So if they've met all of your criteria of who it is you're really looking to help, you're the right person, and you feel like you could be the right fit, now we make an offer. We pitch a call. And so it might sound something like, Morgan, like based on everything that we've like chatted about here, I know like your hips are really bothering you and it's preventing you from doing a lot of the squatting that you want to do in the gym. You've tried some things before that didn't really seem to work, and you're not really sure where to go next. And I know you're looking for help right now. You're looking for some coaching. I'm not sure if you'd be up for it, but I help people with this kind of a problem all the time with athletes. just like you. And if you'd be open to it, I think I have some ideas on how I might be able to help you with moving forward. And, if you have some time tomorrow night or Thursday night or whatever, I'd love to give you a call. We can get on a video call, get on a phone call together, and just kind of talk through like where you're at right now and what next best steps could be. How does that sound to you? So that was like, super chaotically put together by me right then and there. And you'll probably have a little bit more like finesse to it with actually like talking to somebody and having a conversation. But the key components that you want to have there in the pitch is like letting them know that you can help them. It's like, I think that's something in sales that's really like glossed over sometimes. Confirming that like you're the person to help them, I think it helps people a lot more than we think. So confirm that you're the person to help them. You've helped other people with this problem in the past. You have some ideas on how you can help them in moving forward. And the next step, if they're open to it, is to set up a time for a phone or a video call where you can really dive into it and come up with a plan. Whether you work together or not, you can give them an idea as to what it's going to look like to resolve their problem. And there you go. And then there's a couple different ways to do it. To book the discovery call, you can either send a link to your schedule where they can book on their own. You can manually schedule them and just say like, hey, like how's 3 p.m. on Thursday, and put them into your schedule on the back end. There's pros and cons to each, but either way, we need to get them on a schedule. I would recommend using a scheduler so it can send out auto reminders and send out links. My personal favorite is Acuity. I've used it since day one, but there are lots of different softwares that can help you do that, including Google Calendar even has something built in now. So that's something to think about too. So some bonus tips, handling objections. So you're in the DMs, you're chit-chatting away, like typing all the messages, like things are just flowing, it's good to go. And you're like, yeah, this is the opportunity where I can pitch a call. Something comes up. There's some kind of hesitation. How do you handle it? First and foremost, we remain calm, cool, and collected. Everything's fine. There are plenty of people to talk to. There's plenty of patients to go around. We go back to the mindset of like your main purpose here is to serve and to help somebody, even if they don't end up working with you right now. That's okay. We're out here trying to direct traffic and get people the help that they need. So if you're like, let's just get on a free call to talk about your next steps moving forward, and for some reason they give you some kind of a hesitation, you can always let them know again, like it's totally free. It's just to go over some ideas that you have that might help them. There's no obligation. And, of course, if they are still really uncomfortable with it, that's totally fine. And you actually have like some other resources that you can send them if they'd be open to that instead. And then you can always check back with them, in a couple weeks and see how they're doing. So, that's typically how I handle it. Is if they say like no for some reason, I wouldn't just, like pack it up and give up right away. But you can figure out, is there another way that I can help support this person, even if they don't want to move forward with a call right now? And so other things, like you can always offer to send them something else. And that's why it's helpful to make content in general, because you can help people so much with the knowledge that you have. And it doubles as being educational material and helping, but also being sales material in a way where it will really nurture relationships when you come from a place of serving first rather than just trying to ask for things all the time. So sending blog posts, YouTube videos, podcasts, TikTok, Instagram content that you've made, any of that, totally fair. And you can always send them something that is really applicable to where they're at and what they're looking for. And then lastly here is make sure that you enter them into your CRM. So this is big. Using a CRM is super helpful. It will change the game for you. And you may or may not be using one right now, but at the very least, something that I learned about this year is the Instagram tagging system. So you should be able to Google that, but in the top right-hand corner of every conversation you're having on Instagram, there are it's like preset, maybe like 5 or 6 different labels where you can label conversations with different categories like lead, booked, flagged, ordered, stuff like that. And you can have like a system for yourself where each label indicates a certain place like in the sales pipeline. And then you can always come back to them in the future and follow up. So having a way to organize your follow-up is really helpful. So let me know, what do you guys think about this? Using social media, and in this case in particular Instagram, to both promote your business, your practice with content, but also as a place to start conversations, I think is crucial at this point, especially for those of us who are running a very small business with, one or definitely like less than 10 team members. We need a way to continue to have conversations with people and engage. It's a great way to spread the word about your business and, of course, find prospects and build up your caseload in the long run. So to recap, kind of the 4 parts that we went over today, we talked about how to start conversations, how to screen for a fit by asking one question at a time, how to pitch calls, basically like offering discovery calls or consultation calls, whatever the middle step is between somebody being just a prospect and booking a paid service with you. That's what we suggest for most of our practice owners to have. And then a couple of ideas on how to handle any hesitations. And if you have other hesitations that come up for you, please leave those in the comments and we can always make some videos on how to handle those as well. So if you're in a place where you're like, yeah, Morgan, this all sounds great, I would love to do this, but I am just super overwhelmed and I don't even know really where to get started, we would love to help you. You can, in fact, book a free consultation with either myself or one of the other coaches on our team. They have been exactly where you are. They were once beginners themselves and they started their own practices. And now we're all helping other people do the same. And so we would love to talk to you. You can schedule a consult with any of us on our DPT to CEO team at the link down below in the description. And during the free consult, we will talk about, surprise, where you're at right now in your business, where you want to go, what your goals are, problems that you're facing, and whether we're the right fit to help you or not. And if we are, we'll talk about what the next steps look like and what it could look like to work with us in DPT to CEO. So I hope this was helpful and I'll see you on the next video.